if you're into self-improvement and you're a people pleaser, meaning in conversations you always try and make sure the other person is entertained, or the conversation is rolling, and you ask all these questions, and in return what you get are negative results, and in return what you get is anxiety and disrespect. What I want you to understand is this: you are giving off desperation when you're doing this, because you're always asking yourself, does the other person like me? And we all understand that this comes from a place of lowest self-esteem. That's fine. A place of, okay, I don't think I'm good enough, and so I want validation from other people. I want other people to like me. I want to be liked. I want to be popular. And it has more so to do with people pleasing. This is for everyone who is struggling in actually creating boundaries in their life. So if you can't create boundaries in your life, if you are constantly letting other people dictate what you're doing every single day, so if you wanted to sleep early but your friends wanted to go out and you go out, if you wanted to go to the gym but your parents want you to do something so you do that instead of going to the gym, and if you're constantly being selfless, don't get me wrong, being selfless is a very good thing, but if there is not a single hint of boundaries within your life with the people that you interact with, your parents, your friends, and everyone else, you're gonna get stepped on. That's the truth. You're gonna get stepped on. People aren't actually going to like you because you don't like yourself. You're desperate. It comes from a place of lack. And so that's the reason why the poor get poorer and the rich get richer, because the world in and of itself rewards those who have abundant energy, who are brimming with energy. And this sounds a bit mystical, it's a bit weird, but this has to do with your own self-esteem and your own self-respect. And if you're into self-improvement, this is like the specific situation I want to really talk about, because I've gone through this, where you've had friends, I've had friends where I thought we were good friends, but the reality of the situation, when I started to get into self-improvement, when I started to understand what I needed to do, like cold showers, meditation, journaling, all these good habits that are meant to get you ahead in your life, that is meant to actually increase your mental health, your physical health, and overall your spiritual journey towards a relationship with God. When I started to do these things, and I tried to tell my friends back in year 8, year 9 about self-improvement, stopping video games, because video games are a result of genuinely childhood trauma, and most of the time people play excessive video games or watch excessive anime, manga, manhwa, whatever, all of it, you name it, I know it. They do this and they go into these imaginary worlds where fantasy land is created, where you have these main characters who are extremely strong, or you have these games that allow you to live out your fantasies, and you're escaping reality. And the reason why is because you're not very happy with the reality you're in. And a lot of the times you start playing video games at a very young age because you just had a lot of trouble at home. And that's completely okay. But the solution isn't escaping from reality, it's to face it as a man, as a grown adult, as someone who actually wants to change and grow and become a better person in life, to become the most successful, most happy, most competent version of himself, who actually has people relying on him, who, when his presence is within a room, people are more relaxed because they know if there's a threat, they know that if there's an issue or problem, you're there to solve it. You're there to actually create solutions that will work because you're competent. And so when I asked my friends, oh, let's go to the gym, or let's do these things, let's do these good habits, and they just didn't click. Like, you try and talk about these cool philosophies of life that you listen to in podcasts, and people just don't really get it. You try and talk about, oh, there's this new study, you see, where you should actually do 40, almost 40 to 52 sets per muscle group every week in order to create the most muscle group. And you have these conversations with these people and you just get nothing back. Like you can see in their eyes, like it's almost glazed over and they just don't really care. A lot of the times, as people pleasers, as people who have had low self-esteem as kids, and the reason why we're actually going to self-improvement is exactly that. We had low self-esteem and we want to feel better, right? A lot of people, including me, who had this, as a result of all of this, character flaws, they become extremely self-pleasing, well, people-pleasing. So they don't really care about themselves more so. And they allow people to step over them in conversations, in group scenarios, in friend groups. And what I want to talk about really today is exactly that. And it's such a big issue because so many people think that they just have like social anxiety or they have like social issues and they can't have conversations. Here's like a hypothetical, right? Maybe they're the ones who can't have a conversation. Have you ever tried just like having a conversation with someone and instead of constantly asking questions, you just stay silent and see if they ask you questions, like in the same way that you do? If they don't, then they're not really a good friend. They're not really someone who you should be hanging out with because they're not going to be there for you. At the end of the day, you want friends. You want people who will be there for you where you can call them at like 3 a.m. and they'll pick up. And they'll pick up and be like, what's the issue? I'll be there. You want those kinds of friends. And the things that we care about, the things that we listen to, the things that we find interesting to do with our own body, our health, these cool studies and philosophies of life that are genuinely interesting, a lot of the people that you talk to may not be interested in it, and at times you feel shy, you feel introverted, but the reality of the situation is they're just not your people. And you ask yourself, oh, how do I find these people? Well, number one, you really have to be okay with being alone. You have to be okay with being alone and being lonely, having solitude in life and feeling a lot of silence and hearing a lot of your own thoughts. Because if you're constantly surrounding yourself with noise and you block out your own voice, you actually don't know who you are to begin with. And if you don't even really understand who you are, what you do, what you actually care about, obviously you do, but you get what I mean in the subconscious realm. Because a lot of us do actually not like the silences, and we do create all of this noise to stop us from really confronting this silence, which is really just our own mind. A lot of the times what you have to understand is that in this situation, the only thing you can do when you don't really have people that you can relate with, right? The only thing you can do is to create peace by yourself, to be okay by yourself. And it must be so hard because I understand it completely. I went through exactly that, where you may have had friends before and it was all great when you were kids, but now you've woken up and you've realized, I need to get my life together. I need to do these habits. I need people who will be accountable, who will do this. And I'm sure you've had a few friends who said, yeah bro, let's change our lives, let's lock in, let's change and do this, this and this. But the very next day they just go MIA, they go missing in action, and you go, oh, what happened to like the gym session we're going to do? And the guy goes, oh, sorry, I've forgotten. They're unreliable. They don't really care. And what I want you to understand is that you are an outsider. What you're feeling is actually completely normal. Because the type of people that we want to surround ourselves have to be odd. In order to be number one, you have to be odd. And in order to be extraordinary, to be competent, you're going to be weird. And that's completely okay. What is the point of living a life with friends, with people you surround yourself with, where you're just putting up a front? I remember when I was young, I used to just watch Charisma on Command videos and how to start conversations, because no one would actually like have a normal conversation with me. And I thought all I needed to do was to pretend to be someone else, to pretend to be interested in them, to pretend to have conversations, and to ask them questions about themselves. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the whole point of self improvement, the whole point of doing what you're doing, is so that you can actually meet people who are like minded. You don't want to be living a life where you don't actually want to talk to people, where you don't want to actually have conversations, because they're just draining your energy. And you always try and start conversations, you always try and start hangouts, but they never do it and they never reciprocate. The reason why, number one, is because you're showing desperation by trying to be liked. And we've understood this comes from just low self-esteem as kids. Whether it's some sort of issue to do with the home, maybe you were bullied as a kid, it's just something that happens. And so as a result, we try and become people pleasers, because I think a certain part of our brain thinks that, oh, if I'm not liked, I'm going to die. Just, it sounds extreme, but if I'm not liked, that's the end of the world, that this is the world as I know it. And so I think this is such a big issue. I really want you guys to understand that there's nothing wrong with you. There's not a single thing wrong with you. You don't have social issues. You don't have all of this issues that you think you have. You don't have anxiety. It's not that you can't have conversations with people, it's that people can't have conversations with you, because they're all normal. I can't talk about the soccer game that happened last week. I can't, it's boring. I don't want to talk about those things. What I want to talk about is the latest Huberman podcast. Believe it or not, like, oh, did you know that dopamine does this and caffeine does this? In order to actually sleep really well, this seems to be like the best thing. And yeah, obviously, you're not just going to be all serious at all times. But what this is all about is creating like a world around you that you're actually okay with being yourself. And if that means you're not going to have anyone to talk to for maybe a year, then so be it. I would rather be disliked and have a few number of friends who actually get me than be liked by everyone else and just live a life that is fake. And I hope you guys feel the same way. And I hope you guys feel this sentiment, this understanding that we really aren't normal. Normal in the sense that our interests aren't normal. They are very rare. How many people do you think really wants to change their lives in the same way we do? Who really cares about these habits? Who have habit trackers? Who meditate every single day? Who take care of their body? Who want to actually create something in this life to become someone, to be great, not with a lowercase g, an uppercase G, like Alexander the Great, like Einstein, like Tesla, like Oppenheimer. These great men who have genuinely created change. And this really isn't just like an issue that men face, this is women also. So girls, if you're watching, I want you to understand this also. Please do not pretend to be someone else in order to please someone else that don't really care about you, that won't really be there for you in hard times. There's a really great quote Floyd Mayweather said, and he said, "Don't feast with people you wouldn't starve with." And so in order for you to live, I think you have to decide whether you can die for everyone else or you die yourself. And that's the option you have. It's to accept being disliked, to accept that you're going to be different, to accept that for most of the normal people that you meet every single day, you're not really going to get along with them. Sure, you can put up a front. I'm not saying you should be just a socially awkward creature. But don't worry about having conversations with these people. Don't worry about making friends with people that frankly don't align with your purpose and your interests. And so I really hope that this changes some perspective in your life. This helps you. And if so, guys, subscribe, like. I'm going to be making a video every single day, and I'll see you guys next time. Comment if you think you have a question.